such top stars of their day as Rudolph Valentino, Paula Negri, Gloria Swanson, Norma Talmadge, and dozens of other stars by virtue of their special appeal. The glamour, publicity, and wealth began to attract every and any beauty contest winner to Hollywood, convinced, or at least hoping to become the next Mary Pickford or other big star. Most of these aspiring young hopefuls became targets of shady talent agents and worse. Accounts of vice in Hollywood began cropping up in newspapers and magazines through the 20s. Stories of alcohol, drug abuse, and promiscuity became common as young people got too rich too quickly, unprepared for sudden wealth and adulation. They believed their own publicity. They were kings and queens who could do no wrong. But the very glamour that the publicists had gone to such great lengths to concoct proved to be their undoing. The eyes of America were focused on Hollywood. Reporters, no longer content to reprint Hollywood studio handouts, exposed the growing incidence of prostitution, studio call girls, casting couches, orgies, and drug abuse. By 1922, Hollywood gained the reputation of being not only the most glamorous, but also the most corrupt city in the United States. Alcohol, drug use, divorce, and seduction were presented in film after film as the symbols of a fashionable lifestyle. America was launched into an era of high living, and Hollywood was pointing the way. Towns and hamlets across the nation rejected this new morality and concluded that what they saw was only representative of Hollywood alone. Their suspicions were confirmed in 1922 when the sordid details of the Fatty Arbuckle rape and murder of young model Virginia Rapp came in quick succession. The mysterious and unsolved murder of director William Desmond Taylor, implicating both Mary Miles Minter and Mabel Normand, two top box office stars of that time, and the shocking revelation of handsome leading man Wallace Reed's addiction to drugs. Public protests swelled to alarming proportions with threatened boycotts of all movies. The careers of Arbuckle, Mary Miles Minter, and Mabel Normand were destroyed. Faced with overwhelming public protest, producers ran for cover, then came together to face a common danger and formed the Motion Picture Producers and Distributors of America, with the immediate task of fighting national censorship through self-regulation. They pledged to abide by a set of standards mutually drawn up and agreed upon. To enforce this agreement, they appointed their czar, William H. Hayes, a Presbyterian elder, chairman of the Republican National Committee, and the Postmaster General in the Harding administration. The choice proved a wise one. His prominence made him an impressive buffer against outraged citizen groups, thus providing producers a measure of both political and religious protection, and averted a national censorship by the federal government. Another well-known and most successful director of that era was Cecil B. DeMille. His first film, The Squaw Man, 1914, was one of the first features to be produced in Hollywood. It became an immediate hit, and DeMille quickly made more in the same vein. DeMille realized at the outset that the public's taste, according to box office figures, was the surest guide, and he patterned his films accordingly. During World War I, he produced a series of very patriotic films. Before that, the industry switched to a policy of filming stage plays with famous Broadway stars. So DeMille quickly put into production Carmen with then-noted diva Geraldine Farrar, and for added insurance, movie favorite Wallace Reed. Highly praised at that time for its theatrical effects, Carmen established DeMille as a named director. He continued to experiment by releasing films of varying styles and carefully analyzed the audience's response to them. He decided audiences wanted a sophisticated approach to sex, so between 1919 and 1923, DeMille catered to the post-war trend towards the high life, heavy drinking, and loose morals, dwelling on the fashions and foibles of the fabulously rich, thus opening up a whole new world for middle-class audiences, newly won over to the movies by the luxurious movie palaces that was springing up all over the country. DeMille's brother William also plowed the same field, but with much less box office success. With movie morality gone astray and audience protest heard by the Hays office, DeMille quickly shifted gears, knowing full well that sex sells, but flagrant immorality would not. He solved his dilemma in The Ten Commandments, 1923, by masking the sex melodrama behind the biblical facade. The modern part of the film presented Rod LaRocque, the matinee idol of that day, lusting for sexy Nita Naldi, while the early reels featured Moses receiving the law on Mount Sinai, the Israelites crossing the Red Sea, the wanderings in the desert. None of it had any bearing on the modern story. It was merely a smokescreen for the sexual content in his film. With all that moralizing, DeMille was able to carry more sensational sinning than any other director because he was able to apprehend a basic duality in his audiences. He knew that they were extremely eager to see all that sinning and taboo sex, but they could only enjoy it if they were able to preserve their own sense of righteous respectability in the process, and DeMille gave them that opportunity with his biblical epic. For years, The Ten Commandments remained a box office sensation. DeMille's career spanned a period of over 50 years, with such films as The King of Kings in 1927 and his only Best Picture Academy Award, The Greatest Show on Earth. Today, when you think of DeMille, the word spectacular comes to mind. No one could have remained so completely successful for so many years without a shrewd knowledge of his audience. There were two distinctly American film forms, the slapstick comedy and the western. Immensely popular all over the world, they epitomized all that was best in America: the ingenuity and eternal optimism of the comics, the cowboy's spirit of adventure, pioneer virtues, honesty, and courage, and the freedom to ride the plains were new and refreshing images to the tired Europeans, the cramped city dwellers and small kids. These film forms produced a uniquely American style of filmmaking in the 20s. The speed, the tightness, the brilliant timing of the action and editing, and the steady progression of storyline. There was a clean, bright photography utilizing various lenses and filters. That era also produced some of our finest directors: John Ford, George Stevens, Frank Capra, William Wyler, and other disciples of Mack Sennett and Thomas Ince. Great Western stars such as Tom Mix, Wilim S. Hart, Buck Jones, Hoot Gibson became Western staples of that era. As the 20s were coming to an end, a revolution was about to take place. The end of an era. The silent movies were about to be silent no more.
What do you think of the sound pictures of today?
Well, what I think of the talking pictures?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I never heard one.
Don't you understand? What you mean, take him for